All right, welcome. It's 6:18. I want to call to order the December 13th, 2022 open session meeting of the Ayer Planning Board. The first item is the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Mr. Chair, if you
Yes,
don't
sir.
mind, could
You need a moment?
I need to pull the agenda up.
Oh, you gonna put it on the screen for us?
No.
You just want one copy for yourself?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
All right. I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes, I do too. You go first.
You go ahead.
All right, so one of the things, we have a couple things I want to add, though we're going to keep this meeting brisk because many of us have been up early through a site visit, et cetera, and I appreciate that, and I understand that. There's a couple things that we need to talk about. Janet Providakis is going to talk about zoning bylaws and give us a little talk about the possibility of a working group, and when we get to old business, new business. And also, we have to discuss striping for 99 Fitchburg Road as well. Dan Van Skalkwyk has asked for our input on that. So both of those will come under old business, new business. You have something, Ken?
That was,
Sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say, that's gonna be at the culmination of the meeting.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
aye.
Chair votes aye, it's unanimous. So, if Cal Rohi and attorney, is it Lighton or Leiden?
Leiden.
Leiden, Attorney Leiden would approach, and do we have enough seats for you? All right, I've asked Cal, there's a bunch of things. Yes, so Ken has recused himself. I know we have a number of things to talk about regarding Air Solar 2. I asked Cal to do two things for us tonight. One is to go over with the site conditions as they exist now and discuss how they vary from the plans that we had approved and talk about why and what's going on with that. And then talk about the follow-up, what the next steps are. But I,
If I may, Mr.
yes,
Chair.
sir.
You're talking about Calvin Goldsmith from GPR. We have two Cals in the room.
Yes, I meant Calvin Goldsmith.
That's about all right.
Sorry about that,
Don't
Calvin.
forget me.
The other Calvin. Calvin.
You don't know who you
Calvin.
are. No, I'm only kidding.
So, yep. So I've asked them to do that, but I'm sure there's also going to be conversation around a couple other things, including the cease and desist, covenant bond issue that the attorney is here for,
Yep.
and any other miscellaneous issues that may arise. So with that said, Cal, would you like to talk to us about where we are and how that relates to the approved plan and what's going on, et cetera?
Okay, so we had quite a bit of discussion earlier in the summer about changes that we were making from the approved plan to the plan that we gave to you as an updated plan. We've pretty much followed that plan as nearly as we could. There were some areas that we pointed out today while walking the site with drainage where we had to make some changes. We added at the far end of the site, right before the solar array, we had to add another discharge, but then we were able to, after adding that discharge, we were able to reroute the storm water from that basin back into the big basin, which is where we had originally figured it for.
Right.
So it's, either way, it's a controlled structure, but we've got a belt and suspenders for the far end of the site where we had to reconfigure. And part of that is because we had to put a turnaround in that the fire department requested before we get to the array rather than in the array.
I want to pause on that with the
Sure.
turnaround. Has anyone from fire taken a look at the turnaround to give a formal approval on that?
Nick has been talking to the fire department about it. I think they basically told him what they wanted and we did what they asked us to do. Whether they've
And for
come
the
back
record,
out to look at it.
Nick is one of your engineers.
Nick is our chief engineer.
Thank you.
Yes.
People aren't here, so we just want to get on the record.
Yes, so
Thanks,
Nick
Cal.
has talked to them about it and he talked to Dan about it as well.
Okay.
And that was a mutual request of us to change that, which we did.
So what I'll ask is a formal letter from fire just saying that they approved the changes, the turnaround, that it's okay with them.
Okay, we can certainly.
Just all I
do
need,
that.
I just need something in
You
writing
take
from fire to confirm their approval and comfort with the change.
Okay. As I said, we did basically what they had asked us to do.
Yep.
So that change was made. The stormwater system we talked about in depth today, no pun intended, as we were out there this morning. And the key point to remember there is Other than that one small discharge that actually ends up being just an overflow discharge, and it is a controlled flow.
Which one is that? The one at
That's the one at the far end.
the very far end of
The
town?
one that we
Okay.
added.
Yep.
That was done where we discharged it similar to the big basin. We discharge into a pipe that acts as a level spreader with a ridge of stone on top of it, so that when it flows out, it's going to flow out evenly across the whole pipe and won't be a point source discharge. But that, again, is only going to happen in an overflow, and I think you guys
Yeah.
saw pretty well that it's very unlikely that'll ever see any
Well,
water
that would
come
be a
out.
major storm event.
That would be a
probably.
major storm event in a frozen condition where there's
For
7
everyone,
inches
let's
of
hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
As Nick said,
We
you'd
need
be
feet
looking
of
at it
water.
in your canoe as you go
Yeah,
down the
we-
driveway. So. But the big thing that we harped upon quite a bit this morning, we tried to drive home, is that the stormwater management system is functioning the way it was originally designed. The amount of storage that it has underneath, the 120 feet of 4-foot diameter pipe is in and unchanged from what the original design is, even though we cut the pavement back by a significant amount.
Right.
Because we steepened the driveway, you only need it on the steep part. When you get to the level part, a couple hundred feet earlier than we had planned to, that is now just gravel rather than the paved surface. But we've kept the stormwater system essentially intact, functioning as it was designed.
And forgive me, Cal, I just want to, with the fire, the issue there, I just want to confirm not just the turnaround, but they're okay with the slope. I know they may have given you oral approval, but I just want them, I'd feel more comfortable if someone physically went from fire, actually looked at it and said, yeah, we can get a truck in and out with the slope and no
Sure,
problem.
yeah, I'm sure they'll have
As
no
long as that's
problem.
right, so it's
Yeah.
a slope and the turnaround, thank you.
Okay, yeah, that's not a
Sorry,
problem.
please
We can
continue,
access.
Cal, sorry.
Yep, no problem. As part of our discussions with Dan Van Schaltwick, we also talked about the guardrails.
Yep.
He had requested that we continue the guardrail along the street down into our site up to where the chain is going to be,
Yep.
and then separate it and put in the metal rusted guardrail from that point forward down the rest of the
So the portion of the guardrail from the street is already there, that's already
That's
turning
already
down.
installed.
And so what's next is to install the, I don't know what you call it, that
balance of
rusty.
that. Yeah.
Still guardrail.
The guardrail, right.
The
but
metal-
the-
it's
the
metal.
Or
different-
rustic
yeah.
look.
Yeah, the other guardrail.
Right.
And, okay, good.
And that will be done. I mean, actually, it was in the process of being done when we had our little tete-a-tete with the building inspector, and
Yep.
he made him stop yesterday. But so
We'll
as
talk
soon as
about it.
We get going again. We'll get that done. And I'm concerned about that because it's a public safety issue. We don't want access to that site,
No.
Especially with a paved road
Nope.
inviting people down. So the sooner we get a chain up, get the guardrail up, and get a gate up. And our strategy, as we've talked about before, is to put the chain fairly close to the top so somebody can pull off and lift the chain. That's not a locked chain, but it would require them to stop their car, get out of it, park safely, open it, remove the chain so they can get down in. And then they can see from that point down, they can see that even if they do that with the chain, there's a lock gate down at the bottom of the hill that they would have to be able to open in order to access the site. So it's basically when somebody comes in, they're curious, they don't know what's going on, they can look at it, but it'll keep them parked up at the top, and they'll see a lock gate further down the hill, so there's no point in removing the chain and driving down because it's a lock gate, you're not going to get any further than that. And then, of course, somebody who is authorized to be there, that has access to the lock on the gates, would be able to come in, remove the chain, drive down to the gate, open the gate, and drive into the site. So that was a good thing. There's also going to be some signage at the top of the hill, basically telling people no left turn allowed, just because that's a difficult
you exit the
maneuver
property.
as you exit. 'Cause that's a
Oh,
difficult
yeah, that's
maneuver.
ridiculous, yeah.
Yeah, we already had the signage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's on-
we've
it's
got the
coming to-
signage,
to
and that
this way.
we've just had Nick has talked with Dan quite a bit about
It's,
that.
it's
So
not
that-
no left turn, it's right turn only. So.
right turn.
Yeah.
Makes better
And
sense.
then
The other way as well.
And then
right?
coming from Washington Street, coming down from Madigan Lane side.
Yeah, from the Groton side.
The way you guys came,
Yeah.
there will be a sign that says no right turn into
Okay.
the property. So
So
that
we're trying to
also, we
keep
worked
that
with
acute turn
Dan.
out of it.
I showed
Right,
him,
right, because that's too.
it's too sharp, so we already worked with Dan, showed him the,
Mhm.
you know, he asked for certain requirements, we did that, and that's on order, ready to be installed
And,
as
and
well.
there's some good reason for that, because as we brought the road into the site and just come straight down, it doesn't swerve out the way we talked about doing, where we're gonna put all that wall and fill out in order to get more of a 90-degree access to the site. But where it's gonna have such limited traffic, it seemed like that was just not necessary, so.
It's absolutely appropriate for a driveway.
Yeah,
Right.
I would agree with that.
Right.
Okay.
So the bottom line with the drainage is it's all in, it's functioning properly, it's stable, the site is stable. We have a woman from Epsilon in Maynard come out. She's a CPESC, CPEQS. Basically, she's qualified in erosion control and water quality
Right.
measures. It's a professional certification. She has been on the site every week since the project started. And she's been looking at erosion control and notifying us if there is any minor erosion on the site. And there were times when that had to happen, notifying us when she wanted her Rohit to replace hay bales and things of that nature. And Heather usually accompanied her for her site walks. And she's been generating reports every week. And of late,
And those have been going to Concom, right?
They
Okay.
have.
Every Monday.
every Monday. So of late, in the last 4 or 5 weeks anyways, if not further back, the site is stable, there's no erosion issues. We've got some growth of grass growing, it'll be better in the spring, but it's there now, and the site has not evidenced any erosion at any time of a serious nature throughout the entire project, which is saying something given the slopes we had in the proximity to the wetland. So it was a very well-controlled site right from the beginning, which is a good thing. But it was also closely watched, so as we went through the process. So we have those reports there, available to you upon request from the Concom, I'm sure. So we went through the fact that there's some minor cleanup to do, some minor issues to be installed. Things like, well, the guardrail, the materials are on site, but they've still got to be installed. The swing gates, the materials are at more lumber waiting to be picked up and installed, so we've already bought them. There is a little bit of ledge right near that we talked about that he's busting out. He's got to break that a little bit more, bring it back another foot or so, I think.
Now, from what I understand, is we can resolve the cease and desist issue, that the chain, the gate, and the guardrail, you can do pretty much immediately.
Yes.
Is that understood?
Well, that was our discussion with you.
Right.
And our discussion with conservation.
Okay.
It was not our discussion evidently with the building inspector, which is why he put the cease and desist on, because he didn't realize that we had already talked
I want to take
about
the
it.
blame for that,
Okay.
all right? For the cease and desist. I don't want that to be Charlie's burden, that's me.
No, that's fine.
Okay, so that's not him, that's us. We
and
asked him to
that's-
do that.
We're just hoping to get it resolved.
So is what we wanted to see you guys at the table and have this
Sure.
conversation.
Absolutely.
So I think that we can resolve that with Charlie, with the building
Yeah,
inspector.
but I think
So,
the chairman was asking, can we address the guardrail and stuff like in the coming week?
exactly,
That's what I think he was
before
asking.
Christmas
Oh,
or
yeah.
before
No,
the.
absolutely. I
Okay, so
think-
that's a yes.
Yeah,
That's a
so
yes.
I reached out to the contractor after our site walk today and before this meeting, just to see if he can, because he had to pack up and leave his team.
Right.
So he said that he will target to come out like early next week to finish up the guardrail and the swing gate, and potentially potentially the ledge as well.
Right, that was
So
my
the
next
equipment-
question. So the ledge is a maybe. Maybe you'll be able to finish the ledge.
I
Now
will-
you might have to wait.
Yeah, just because of equipment availability, he may have to rent another piece of equipment because that equipment
hammer.
to hammer.
Yeah,
it,
the
'cause
hammer
it's
he's got is not very big,
Yeah.
so
So
if
if
he
you
can
re-
get it to
yeah.
work. But it looked like it was fracturing. I mean, I think he's gonna
Yeah,
get it.
yeah.
I think he'll get it. And he doesn't need much. There's not, as we talked,
Yes,
it's gonna
as we
be,
saw.
gonna rise up and flow slowly through, so.
Right.
And then the speed humps, when the asphalt
Yep.
went in, the contractor said it was too cold to be able to form them, because he's gotta mold them, because we're asking them to be 3 feet wide, 4 inches high, so it's a very gradual bump that'll serve to push water over, but not give you a real jolt when you drive in there. And he said it was just too cold for us to be able to form it and expect it to
I believe that,
hold up.
yeah.
So he'll have to come back in the spring and put those in. We'll require him to take some measures to make, he can't just put them on top. He's got to grind out, probably take it down an inch, pour it into there and then
Right, so you get the bond.
get the bond so that it'll hold. So whatever measures he thinks are necessary to make sure those are gonna have some longevity.
So I just want to explain to anyone who might be watching or listening to the video, the issue of the speed humps is that they both decelerate the flow of water and direct them right into the tree boxes where the water
Right.
can be filtered before it goes out, and that's what this
Right.
issue is.
And then, of course, we've got installed trees and the tree box filters. We actually have them in our office right now, but I don't know if they'll make it through the winter or not in a
No, they
pot,
can't.
so we may end up having to buy new trees. So
You might have to because. Right.
No,
Wow.
they're sitting in his office.
Oh, they're in your office.
They're sitting literally in his office.
With
And
Christmas
We water them.
ornaments on
And
them?
so
water
they're
them
watering him every day.
actually, we do have one. It's a Charlie Brown tree. No
Oh,
leaves,
with,
just sitting there with one little ornament on
What's the
it.
species?
Yeah, well, what is this?
I think it was a cotton bush. So one of the
Cottonwood?
It's one of the bushes. Huh?
Mango dormant and survival outside.
I
Yeah, they're
would think
dormant.
so.
Yeah.
They came in dormant.
Well, we could probably put them in the ground. It's not
If,
gonna
if
hurt.
you, yeah, if you brought them in, if you brought them in dormant and they're in the warm, you got a challenge now because you got to let them cool down again slowly. But
We've been keeping them in a relatively unheated room, so it doesn't get
yeah,
over 60.
no, that's fine. Yeah, I can't believe the installs I did over the years at work.
Yeah.
I don't know that species, but yeah. Okay.
All right. So let's continue with the.
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Jeff.
During the sidewalk today, and believe it or not, I don't have a copy of the original plans from way back when. We looked at a lot of the riprap that's happening on what I'm going to call the north side of the road,
Yeah.
and it looks like it's going to be very successful in slowing down the water and helping to control the water that comes off the hill from the neighboring properties. Is that going to be covered up with topsoil and stuff?
I
And
don't-
planted with vegetation? I just don't know. I didn't
I
get a
don't
chance to
believe
ask
so.
I don't think
today.
it
No,
did.
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
we want to keep that exposed and functioning the way it is.
Okay.
So they should operate like the ones on Grant Road, for instance, as you go into Devon's. If you know what I'm talking about, they have the same riprap bumps
Yeah,
to
yeah.
decelerate the water
Right.
flow going down,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And those are bare; they're just exposed riprap.
Right. I mean, they'll gather leaves and stuff over time, and you may see some sort of growth over, but they're going to function, continue to function.
So,
That's riprap.
and is there any planned restoration work that's not in the, again, call it the north side of the road, the tree box side of the road? Is there going to be any kind of restoration work on the surface there? Bringing in topsoil and plantings and stuff?
So, are you talking about like is the site like
As you're driving to the
The
site,
right
right-hand
side.
side.
so
coming in
right
right
at the
side.
entrance?
You're talking further down the hill where the bench, where we benched in to
Yeah.
collect
Yes,
the
that's
water.
right. Yeah.
You're not going to want to do anything in that the swale itself. I mean, there is some other ground there.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out where you're. I'm trying to imagine where you're
As you're
talking
coming
about.
down the site, you look to the right,
Yes.
and you have the little swale,
first-
and then there's like a shelf and then a bench that collects the water. from
Let me
off
ask the
hill.
question a different way.
Yeah.
There are situations where there's not a swale on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
There are tree boxes with areas between them that
Oh,
aren't necessarily
yeah.
a swale. I would assume and I would hope that there's some sort of restoration work going to be put in there, something for things to grow in.
Yeah. So he's talking about basically between the two tree boxes. There's
Yep.
a couple spots where they're a little
Yeah.
dipped.
It's
That
just
area,
a construction
yeah.
site right now.
So
It's just- yeah.
that area again, there's some topsoil that I think that on the left-hand side
Mhm.
that was covered because it's been sitting
Yep.
there for a little bit. So our plan was to relocate that over to between the tree box filters to help
Yeah,
after the asphalt was getting built.
Give it a
we can-
chance so things
to
can
lick
grow.
a smooth
Basically,
out.
don't
right,
leave it back.
And I think they
So
just
we
got
can-
to it too late in the season to be able to spread that. and
Just
be able to-
as I was thinking about it after I drove out today, it occurred to me to ask.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a borrow pile somewhere on that property.
Yeah.
It's just covered with snow
Yeah,
today.
it's actually right across the driveway
Yeah.
from it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So we got tree box filters to go in, finish grading and reseeding the solar array in the spring. Just in general, try and get a better growth of grass there. And there'll be some growth underneath the panels. It won't be vigorous because it doesn't get nearly the sun, but certainly the growth in between the rows, in between the panels will grow.
Do we need any further loam and landscaping or whatever treatment on the south slope side from the road entrance going all just following through?
The
Or those
restoration.
yeah, that was the
No, I think those are
done.
Those are good. Yeah, no, I think those are done.
Okay, so as I understand it for the spring, we're looking at the speed humps, the trees in the box filters, restoring some of the landscape between the tree boxes as just
Okay, that's
discussed,
what we just
and the
added.
finished grading and seeding in the solar array area. If I got it
Yep,
right?
Yep.
Is there anything else?
And dressing up the driveway along the block wall in the spring, which I guess is what you were talking about. The loam and seed and then that last bit of fill that has to be placed between the edge of the driveway and the retaining wall itself.
Yeah, that, yep.
We put that in.
Yeah, that's
And-
what, I'm assuming that $2,000
And
is all of that.
And the retaining wall structure was completed all the way down to the culvert.
Yes.
The bridge culvert.
Oh, yeah.
And,
The other side of it just
Heather
needs to be-
Heather pointed that out to me
Yeah,
today,
yeah.
so yeah,
Right.
that
And-
corner structure's been put in so it can
Yeah.
hold back whatever goes, it holds
Right.
back to the roof.
And you're negotiating with the building inspector to do, he has to do that little test.
Yeah, so I've
You're
already
talking to him
talked to
about
him
that.
yesterday.
Right.
I told him that we will, I can't do it now because of the weather, but I will make sure we call
Right, of
him
course,
in March
right.
when we have a team and we'll dig up that area again and so forth. I also offered him to meet with me at the site and we figure out where we would do that.
Right.
So I could go to him tomorrow and ask him if he wants to do that now or do that in March.
I guess you want to see how much covers over the pipe?
He wants to see how far the tieback was related
Oh,
to
gotcha. Okay.
The retaining wall.
the retaining wall and that geo-webbing that we did.
Yep.
Even though Art came out and verified everything, but he would like to see it as well.
And Art's going to give us a
Yeah,
clean bill of health on
yeah.
it as well, right?
Yes,
I'm surprised that's not enough, but as long as he gets it.
he wants
that's
to
fine.
see it himself. So I said, fine.
Okay.
Okay, good.
All right.
Anything else, Cal, on the list?
No, I think that's it. And we've got an itemized,
Yeah,
we've got the itemized list. I was just going to hand it out with, put some numbers to it for your consideration.
I'd like to ask, invite the conservation agent. Is this something that we missed, Heather?
My only concern is the large stormwater basin.
The which one?
The large stormwater basin,
And what about it?
it's not built to standards, it has to be some sort of substrate on there, it can't just be dirt.
That's the largest one, as the road hooks around. It's the big pit that has the concrete
we'll grass
overflow,
on it?
right?
Yeah,
Which is grass.
that's what she's talking about.
Yeah, well, that's fine. We'll do it.
Yeah,
We're
which is
we're
fine.
supposed to do that.
The
I
only
forgot
issue
that
we're
was.
going to have
that was
is where it's exposed ledge. It's going to be exposed ledge. We're not going to try and.
Yeah,
make
we
all
understand that.
exposed ledge.
No, we get it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
we're familiar
Yeah,
with
yeah,
exposed ledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got that.
Okay.
So that's another thing to add for the spring.
Yeah, I
right?
forgot that. That was supposed to be part of the reseeding.
Okay.
Okay, so we probably ought to, where it says finish grade and reseed, we may just want to bump that number up to give us a little more.
That's fine.
Oh, okay, thank you for this. Okay, guardrail, swing gates,
You got a copy of this?
Yeah.
optimistic on the ledge. I hope you're right. And so,
Yeah, actually, I don't think that's a big job. I think
Okay,
we'll
good.
be fine with that.
No, they were able to. They were chipping it actually yesterday.
okay,
Before.
Yeah.
You saw the little bit of dirt movement there this morning.
Yeah, I did.
They were able to basically start chipping away, and then we stopped.
So we're gonna need a number for the,
yeah,
finish of the large basin.
yeah,
I
that's the
would,
number.
I would say the finish grade and reseed the solar array, maybe just add and the basin to that and bump that number up.
Okay. And the-
So maybe you want to double that number. Call it 3,000.
Yeah,
3,000? Okay.
I think that's generous.
If I may ask another question, I know I seem to recall Air Solar 1, we went through a maintenance and agreement for it, and the maintenance for any kind of cutback underneath the panels was going to be mechanical. This is a long time ago, guys. To cut in the grass, we don't want pesticides and herbicides in there. That's what
Oh,
it came
okay.
down to.
Yeah, no, there's no intention of
Yeah,
using.
and I just got, again, in my trip
Yeah,
back
it would
to
be
the
mechanical.
office from the walk today, just to assure that we're not going to be introducing herbicides and stuff like that into that area.
No, there's no plan to do that. I think the mowing would be between the rows of
Yep.
panels. Under the panels, I don't think we'll need to.
No, you can't mow them.
No.
It's weed whacking.
Yeah.
But even that, I mean,
Well,
you-
there may or may not be, but again, mechanical,
It's
Yeah.
mechanical.
yeah.
Yeah, it'll be mechanical.
As a matter of fact, the other field doesn't look half that bad. You know, how many years has it been in?
well, it's 4 or 5.
It's been in
right?
service now for almost 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay.
Anything? All right, hey, Mark, so anything to add here, Mark?
No, it sounds good to me. Because the building inspector is the authority that issued the cease and desist order, I believe it might not be a bad idea for the planning board to make a motion, which I've drafted the framework of, to undo the cease and desist subject to the list of items to be completed as was just read. So I will read a draft motion that I wrote before the meeting that you can tweak a little bit. And then what I would suggest is people get me the full list of items to be completed. And then I will draft that, send it back to Jonathan, and it could be forwarded to the building commissioner.
So if you could send this revised doc to Mark.
If I may, right now.
Sure.
You got it already?
I would like to.
And to Heather.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
excuse me.
please, sir.
So, Mr. Goldsmith recommended that the second to last bullet item on here, finish grade and receive the solar array in the spring, and we're gonna add the word solar array and
The large basin.
large basin, and you increase the number by 100%, so that's a $3,000 line item. 8750 was the original. If you add 1500, the increase. I'm at 10250.
That's what I got.
Okay, good. Mark,
That's what I got.
Yeah,
I'm going to scan this document and email it to you right now. If we can,
Okay.
if so.
Technology.
yeah, I probably won't be able to
Guys.
alter it right now, but I will get it to you tomorrow.
Yep.
I wanted to also ask the planning board how they feel about the need or not to have a site plan modification to the original approval, since that was back in 2021. And, you know, we've seen that the specifications of that plan had to be modified. You know, I think it might not be a bad idea to have the applicant landowner come back to the planning board for a site plan modification. Wouldn't involve the butter notification or fees, but just to get the new plan on the record, so to speak.
Well, so if the idea is to have an accurate plan so that you understand exactly what we're doing, that's the
Right.
function of the construction record plan that we're working on right now.
Yeah.
So it's going to be redundant to give you, because basically the plan it will give you is that plan.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
so
like I was thinking about the redundancy, and I don't want to give the planning board extra work just for the sake of that, but I didn't know what the outcome of the site visit was going to be, so.
yeah, no, I understand that, but I think having
Right.
another site plan approval process is kind of redundant at this point. I think the better
Okay.
move is for us to give you construction record plans, and then in your documents, you talked about issuing a certificate of completion. And I
Right.
think that would be the natural close to this process, rather than trying to go all the way back and file another site plan approval request when the project is already completed.
Yeah.
I think that would tie everything out just as well. There's
Does
really
that
no
construction
need.
record serve as the final as-built, or is it a
Yes.
separate thing? It does serve
That
as the
is it,
as-built?
yeah.
Okay.
And we've already been out there and surveyed everything that's there on the ground. We're just waiting for the guardrails, the gate, and the chain to go in, so we can locate those on the ground and show them on the plan. And then we'll be able to provide you with a full construction record plan, including topography of the entire site of what got built and all the connections of all the pipes and everything else.
And that would be in the construction record.
That's your construction record plan. It's a stamp plan from our engineer. It'll be Nick stamping it. It basically will confirm everything that got constructed out there, and then at that point you should look at it and say, okay, we're happy that everything is accurate and represents what's on the field, and we'll issue you a certificate of completion for it, subject to the items that are still left to be completed here.
Okay.
Okay.
And I want to ask, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, as far as lifting the cease and desist, which I think would be a good, good idea, just to keep everything on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, we need to do
Oh,
that.
yeah, we absolutely.
Very simple motion that the planning board could modify a little bit, but you want me to read it?
Please do.
Please do.
Okay, the planning board moves to request that the Air Building Commissioner lift the cease and desist order he sent on December, whatever date it was, to
First.
Air Solar 2 LLC and GPR Incorporated, subject to the list of items to be completed as discussed at the December 13th, 2022 Planning Board meeting.
And I would just, if I have a friendly amendment to that, and
Yes.
in addition to the list in the formal document, as Cal Goldsmith, the engineer, has stated that the immediate work too to be completed, the chain, the gate, and the guardrail.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Thank you very much, and to that end,
Mark?
Do we close it, or is
Yes.
there's still discussion?
No, we have some discussion to do about the covenant bond issue. And
Oh,
the
okay.
attorney's gonna lead us through that. So Mark, what do we need to get to Charlie to get this going?
Well, basically, send me the list that you have, and what I will do is tomorrow morning, first thing, I will type it into that simple motion. I'll send it back to you, Jonathan.
Yep.
So that so that you can clean it up a little bit, and then just send it over to the building commissioner.
So it's, you will draft it, send it to me, and then I'll forward it to Charlie.
Correct.
Okay, good. I just wanna make sure that you get everything done.
Chair, one more
Yes,
thing
sir.
on
I
that.
don't think Charlie's aware of it.
yeah, can we get a copy of that as well? And there's my original signature with the notation on that.
I sent him with my
Just keep
notation.
it for your files.
Did they hear that?
Okay, so, yes, sir. Nathan, you had a question?
Yeah, a couple questions. One is just, what is the timing and your expectation for, through the chair, to apply for the certificate of completion?
So what's the process there?
Well, actually, it was a condition of your approval that we don't normally go through. We don't normally get a certificate of completion from the planning board. So my suggestion, because you've made that in your decision, it talks about certificate of completion being necessary to reactivate the system. That's something we'd like sooner rather than later, once you get the plans, the construction record plans. So as soon as we can get that, the better. Now, understand that what's this release of covenant does is it replaces the covenant with the bond amount. So Rohit will be posting $10,250
Okay.
bond, and then the covenant, we're asking you to release the covenant with this document. But we would hope that you could issue a certificate or a release or a certificate of completion sooner rather than later. But like I said, the process is a little unclear because it's not in anybody's bylaws or.
So I think
regulations
specifically,
as far
because I'm
as
a
I
little
know.
confused, are we looking at that in the spring, or you're asking for it now when you complete the chain, the guardrail, et cetera? So at what point are you looking for that?
Well, tell you the truth, I'm honestly not sure because I don't know what it is, but the significance, I think, of this release of covenant is that then, now that this bond has been posted, this covenant is released, the covenant is what's preventing the turn on of the system. And that's something Rohit needs to do sooner rather than later, because that's a financial burden to wait until spring when we have to do some of this.
That's why I need to ask a question, and I don't have the expertise, and I'm hoping Mark you can help me out. Is the release of covenant sufficient for Rohit to get the power turned on, or does that have to come after the certificate of completion? I just want to make sure that we have the appropriate chronology of events.
Boy, I can't answer that off the top of my head right now. That might be a question for council. Yeah, it wasn't. That's.
Well, we're in a spot where the applicant's looking for the covenant decision tonight, right?
Well, we're asking for the release of the covenant and the posting of the bond
I
tonight,
gotcha.
which we contend is sufficient, and I'll defer to council on that, but should be sufficient to allow Rohit, because now we're talking about less, $10,000 or something. That's to hold up turning on the system for a long
If I may.
time.
Yes, please.
If I may, I want to touch the tops of the waves because unfortunately I sat in the room. I think Mr. Guard reminded me today we've known each other for almost 8 years. So there was a great deal of discussion that happened previous years, and I'm not going to go deep into it, where when you look at something like this, what do you take as a covenant?
Right.
cost of the road, cost this, cost that. We went around and around and around on it, and we came to the conclusion, pretty much as a group, that getting it complete would be substantial. Getting it complete would be the standard by which the system could be turned on, and no one ever perceived we'd have a pandemic or anything else that happened in the last couple of years. I don't recall if we had any kind of decommissioning built into this, any money for decommissioning in this plan.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
there
do.
There is.
Okay, great. So that's so the
separate
decommission
issue.
of the plan 25 years out is that's financially taken care of. So we didn't take money because we couldn't figure out what the money was going to be. Okay, the road is substantially in.
Yep.
The weather being what it is right now, we're at a standstill.
Right.
But we understand that things can get done. Typically, we ask Mr. Van Skelquick or the DPW to look at these numbers and see if they're somewhere in the ballpark, to be honest with you.
Yep.
I don't think the town's ever been punitive in going after somebody for a covenant. Mr. Moore may disagree. But,
If I may.
so I think, so coming forward to here, I think what's happening, if I'm correct, is if the project is substantially complete, it would be a true burden on the proponent
Yes.
to not be able to connect it and start using it to generate electricity.
I understand.
In our current electric market, that's also seems to be a burden on the people.
Right.
So is that a kind of where
That's
we
a
were?
fair
in
statement.
I have
Thanks.
two issues. One is, can we come to an agreement about this bond without having Dan review it first?
I'm perfectly fine with that.
I think the issue is. if
You're
it's
okay with it,
If
Nathan?
it's interpreted as an approval to turn on, then I don't think I can come to that conclusion.
That you can't, to which conclusion? That
That it's approval to activate the system.
the covenant?
Yeah, releasing the covenant.
Without having Dan look at it.
Well, and not knowing if this certificate of completion or occupancy is the trigger for that. I think that's what we need to. That's what I need to know. Which turns on the system?
So,
The release of the covenant
yeah.
does.
So the intent, when we came to the planning board at the time, as
Mhm.
Jeff alluded to, was, at the time was, how do we evaluate the value of the money? How
Yeah.
much money? And at the time, the DPW, Mark was at the time, and he threw out, I can't remember, it was roughly maybe a six-figure number, $100,000
Okay,
was.
between 60 and 100 somewhere.
Yeah, so it was a pretty significant amount of, financial burden at the time to put up for that covenant. And so we said at the time was, how about we do this instead? We will make sure that the driveway gets there substantially complete to meet what you're looking for, and we won't or we won't operate the system for that. And that was the intent. And in the, you can allude to more, but in the covenant language, it says that also we can potentially come back to the planning board to replace the covenant of the turning it on with another means. And that's what we're coming to the planning board today to basically say is, okay, we believe we're now closer to substantial. Some of this is holding us back related to spring, but we're willing to put this alternate solution up for the bonding to ensure that the rest of the project is complete. And asking for the.
And really, that's the whole purpose of it, right? Is to make sure that the
I'm gonna
project
add
gets
one more,
complete.
Mr. Chair, if I may. This project originally came to the planning board as a mixed-use project, industrial and residential. The reason we struggled with the bond amount, I think, was what's the infrastructure need to be for a possible future build of residential. The residential has been removed from the project.
Well-
That was said to me today. So,
Right.
that was the other piece that's changed dramatically since then. The houses were going to be south of the project, I think, at some point. They were out there at one point. So
Yeah.
that's also no longer part of the project. And that's one of the reasons why we struggled with the bond is in order for the houses to go in there, it needs to be more than a driveway. It needs to be actual road. And the road needs
Yeah.
to be built a different way. And so
So let me give you
that's
a
just
little,
information.
put it
So,
in a perspective for you.
The bond really isn't the primary issue for me.
sorry?
The bond really isn't the primary issue.
Okay.
Just to save some time, what's really relevant, I think, is Mark sent us the approval right? And I think this mirrors the one that was recorded in the deeds. The 11D of the approval on I think the general conditions says prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, the applicant's agent, contractor, engineer shall provide written certification that all site improvements have been installed and constructed in accordance with the approved site plans and the conditions of the site plan approval decision. So I think that's what we need, is a written.
We could certainly give you something saying this project is substantially completed in conformance with the existing plan.
Yeah, and I think, line by line, general conditions and special conditions, right? Enumerate each one is more or less, I think, would answer, this one. And my suggestion is, we found site conditions, or we were asked by the fire department, etc. So this one changed, right? And now we interpret it this way, and therefore we think it's complete. And then some of them will just be complete. Some of them will be, these are now part of, these we want to roll into a bond, like the seating, the landscaping. But I think until we get that, something written, particularly per 11D here, we don't have, it seems that would be good faith.
So what you're asking for is that
I see what you're
a
saying,
statement
yeah.
from the engineer saying this project is completed substantially in accordance with the plans that were approved.
These are
And
the
we were-
identified.
With
on
the
site.
identified-
These are
With the identified
Further-
changes.
Yeah, I'd feel very.
Which is not a problem. I mean, we
I
can
feel
certainly
much more
give you that.
So
comfortable.
let me, just to restate, there are 16 general conditions and 7, 8, 10 special conditions. So 27.
But do all those
items.
conditions
Like I said,
talk about necessary, I mean, general conditions, you can just, there's a whole bunch
Some
of
of
them that
them
we're
are-
just
some
gonna
of them are
say,
broad.
yep.
yeah, but well, this is complete because of this reason, right? And then the ones that are going to roll into a bond, and then the ones that changed. And those are the ones going to be more interesting. The ones that changed because we found site conditions, or there was, now we're no longer doing the residential. Explain that. But I think this needs to be written down.
So
In many ways,
I
it sounds
feel-
to me, and not to diminish this, a punch list.
that's what I was
Well-
going to say. I think that the punch list serves as
I think we have the pieces in front of us, but we don't have it put together. And I'm actually looking, our next meet, we do meet one more time this month. Did, by the way, I understand, was NSTAR stopped to come out and do the work?
They were stopped.
When?
Didn't it?
I don't know. There was a conversation about NSTAR wanting to come out here and do work because of the cease and desist.
Yeah, so on Monday, National Grid was out there.
I'm sorry, I said NSTAR, not
Yeah,
National
sorry,
Grid. Excuse me,
sorry.
Rohit.
They did come out Monday?
So National Grid was coming out to do some testing, not of the system. So so they were supposed to come out. Our engineer was out there checking up
Yeah.
things prior to them coming out, and what's his name? Charlie stopped our guardrail and then talked to our engineer at the site and said, "Hey, you need to." I think that's when he called you, and he stopped everything. So then that's why. Then he called National Grid to call him off.
That's what I thought.
And then therefore nobody came, and then he had to pack up everything.
I understand.
And then we just chatted at the site, and then we left. So that's how we stopped all that.
Yeah.
And so they're potentially scheduled now for sometime next week if they come out.
I'm going to be frank. My concern is that we release the covenant. The only leverage we have left is the $10,250 bond.
Right.
And we've had difficulty communicating with you guys. There's been challenges along the way. And I would feel much more comfortable with what Nathan suggested, of having this all in writing before we release the covenant.
I'm looking at the calendar, Mr. Chair, and we do not currently have a meeting scheduled for the 27th, but that does not mean we don't have a meeting on the 27th of December.
Okay, I was working on something that we do.
I am also, but it's not on the town calendar. But that's neither here nor there right
Right,
now.
the town calendar isn't the official record of law, is it?
No, I'm just looking to see
Okay.
if there's nothing on the 27th right now.
Mr. Chair, if I may interrupt.
Please do.
Yeah, we do have a meeting scheduled for the 27th, and I was going to, under planner update, inform everybody that Nasoya Tofu is coming in with their site plan edition. So we certainly can schedule Solar 2 for that evening.
Okay.
I think, given, honestly, hearing what Mr. King has to say, this has been a bumpy project from the beginning. I think it behooves all of us, quite honestly, to
Okay.
get it written down.
So what I'd like to see is that written down and the letter from fire. Or is there anything else that we'd like to have?
And I think if you read the tea leaves in the room, I think we're in a good spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, you know.
Is it too much to get the state of where the drawing is? It won't be the final drawing, but we've kind of
By that
oriented-
time, yeah, it won't be the final drawing, but if the guardrail gets installed on a timely basis, we may be able to include that on it. which
That
would
would be nice.
So
Uh,
before we make any decisions, could I speak to the covenant and then
Yes, you
make the
may.
distinction between a certificate of completion, which I think is what you're concerned about, and the covenant itself. The covenant is partially, as you mentioned, related to the residential development that was supposed to take place. It actually references Section 81U of Chapter 41, which is the subdivision control law. And under the subdivision control law, these covenants are intended to be changed from time to time based on the amount of work to be done. And typically it's deferred to the applicant as to how they want to proceed with that. And so under 81U, it says which method or combination of methods may be selected and from time to time varied by the applicant. And so if the applicant comes forth with a request to release the covenant in exchange for a bond, typically that is allowed, just regardless of how much work is left to be done. Typically, with a subdivision, substantial completion, if there's 30 lots and there's 5 remaining to be completed, then you would release the covenant on all of those lots up until the last 5. So what we're asking here is that rather than hold up the financing aspect of the project, we swap out the remaining items in the form of a bond for the release of the covenant, and that would allow him to move forward financially with the project. And respectfully, we would request that you do that tonight so that he can continue seeking financing to complete these items.
So there's a distinction between the security to the project and
No, I
the
get that.
certificate of completion. So I think what Nathan's asking for, we can provide in detail as a request for certificate of completion on the project. And then, you're right, the only leverage you would
That's
have,
right.
other than the fact that, well, he really wants to finish this thing and get it done, is that bond. So typically, if you were uncomfortable with the number and you wanted to have additional leverage, you can increase that number. Now, obviously, we're not asking you to do that, but if we're able to increase that number so that you're holding more money than what it's going to cost him to finish it, then he's got a good reason to finish it. He'll finish it anyways, but I think that's a reasonable request by a planning board to say, you've got $10,000 worth of work to do, so if I hold a $10,000 bond, that means you can walk away and I'll have to be the one to fix it for your $10,000.
You can account for inflation with the amount determined by the board in case you do have to complete the work and you can't get to it for a couple of years. That won't be the case because he actually wants to get this done as soon as possible. Most likely it will be, all of this extra work will be done in the spring. It will be done in the spring, and that won't be an issue.
Right.
And
One moment, Cal, I'll get you up to Jeff.
Okay.
so,
Calvin Moore, I mean.
this has been a project that has had a great deal of scrutiny and a great deal of pain. This is the classic, lots of pain going for both. And I'm totally unaware of what's going on with the neighborhood over there. And we're looking at the goal line, and I'm very concerned. We have shown the town of Ayer that the planning board is serious. Calvin's been before the planning board for many, many years, and I've been involved. And the planning board has gotten to a point where the town has, I think, a great deal of respect for us and a great deal of understanding that we're somewhat careful. So I'm struggling with that. To be honest. I understand what you're saying. I understand that money versus the covenant, the completion. That's all I'm going to say. It just there's that piece
I have a
too,
concern too,
which
because
is there.
the $10,250 is small potatoes money versus the value of turning on the electricity. And I just don't want to spend the spring chasing you down. I just don't want to have that experience. Period. It's just that's what it comes down to.
Understand that. The question is, I mean, even if we make that application, we're
Yep.
still going to be in a position of giving you
You
a
still
bond
need
and
to-
asking you
No, I get that.
to allow us to release it, right? And so if we had, think about this, if we had come in here and said, okay, we've got a $750,000 cost to put in this whole project, and we're going to give you a bond for $750,000. Okay, now we would be coming back to you saying we've got $10,000 worth of work to do, release $740,000. The idea of a covenant wouldn't be in there anywhere.
Right.
No, I fully
And-
understand that. Yeah.
And you are now being offered that exact same position as security. And what we've just said is, if additional funds make it feel like you've got Rohit's attention, and that would, I mean, it'll kill me, I would say double. You want $20,000, it's $10,000 worth of work, you hold a $20,000 bond, that would give the town the leverage that you would need to get this done, because he's got to get it done, and we've got to get it done, or we're going to have egg on our face forever. And
Yeah.
so, you know, I've got a vested interest in making sure that he'll do it, and I'm not going to have to argue with him about it, because he's going to come in and take care of it. And that's
I'm sorry. You good?
Yeah.
Mr. Moore wants to speak.
I guess a couple more important things is, one is that I'm going to tell you it's going to get done, it's going to get done. If I have to put up another 10 to make it happen tonight, great, I'll do that. But I think what's most importantly is it's not to find little picky-picayune things to stop this massive project to support roughly 240 homes of green energy. I think we're missing the boat on this whole green energy thing, and that we can produce by flicking the switch. And I think that's very important over $10,000 or $10,250 or a $25,000 bond. You know, it's just one thing after another, and I know it's a big project. Solar One, I haven't heard any complaints on that. It was a learning process for this board and every board in town. A lot of bylaws were made for that, but we've all gotten better at it. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't collect rent until he gets it done. I'm going to make sure he gets it done. That's, you know, I've been here for 69 years. It's going to get done. And again, if I got to put up another 10, I will. But think of the 240 homes of green energy. That's stopping right now, that we don't have to let it stop. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Calvin.
That's the other part of the conversation in my head, Calvin.
Yeah.
so I go back to the idea that if we had just posted a cash bond in the very beginning,
It's,
we'd be at the same place.
it's
And-
different, if I may, and it's a little different from what than a subdivision, because a subdivision you're releasing, you're bringing down the bond, you're bringing down the covenant, whatever, and you're getting partial value back, right? In this case, you're getting full value back, right? You're getting the full value of the solar production back.
Well, if we were in a subdivision, for instance, we would be coming to you saying, release all the lots, and here's our $10,000 bond
Right.
for completion
Right.
of construction.
If all the lots
It's basically
were-
the same thing.
If all the lots were complete.
It's almost finished coat couldn't get done because it's December, and here's the money for the finished coat.
Yeah.
And
Right.
we'll plow
Right.
the way
And-
it is. We'll fix the castings, we'll plow it, and this is the money we think we're gonna have to fix the castings. That's how I see it in the subdivision law right now. You know, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I have a great deal of interest, personal interest in seeing the site come online, to be honest with you. I appreciate the time that the engineers and the proponent took with us today to walk us through this. I have no way of ascertaining if these numbers are good or bad numbers. I think it's a good faith offer from Mr. Moore, also on this project. Given the season, I'm willing to propose that we seriously consider releasing the covenant.
Tonight?
Turning it on. The benefit of turning it on, it starts to produce. It puts the proponent in a position where he's no longer, where it changes the dynamics of the project tremendously. So.
And I think we can do that and still satisfy your requirements for a full written request for a certificate of completion that would address each and every one of those conditions.
Which is where the
We'll have
10,000
that.
gets held up.
And we'll have that for you at the next meeting.
I think we should wait.
So, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
What you could do is vote to release the covenant contingent upon the receipt of the bond in the amount of 10,000, was it 200?
250, yeah.
250. And also upon staff receiving the checklist that you.
Yeah, I was going to ask if we could do that as a condition of receiving the checklist as described by Mr. King, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, as per the approval.
For the approval, yeah.
I think we need to follow this approval.
Could we provide that to staff? Could we provide that to staff so that we can move forward?
I mean, to the planners, to mark the town
Yes.
planner?
So we all move forward without having to come to another meeting.
I understand. I got your request.
So then this document wouldn't be released to us until that information is provided.
If I may, another thing too is you get 2 days after Christmas, who's on vacation, then you gotta worry about getting a quorum, if you get bumped into January or further on out.
That's the concern.
So if I understand Nathan correctly, prior to the issuance of certificate of occupancy, the applicant's agent, contractor, engineer shall provide written certification that all site improvements have been installed and constructed in accordance with the approved site plans and the conditions of the site approval decision. That's the sticking point, because we've had modifications to the pond. We've agreed with the proponent to let them give us a complete as-built drawings, which would be the complete drawings of it. We're not going to see those till the end of the process also. And we have pretty much a punch list right now of items that we've discussed today, which is the offer for the bond.
And really,
This is not releasing until the spring, if we follow this covenant.
If we follow it, but
I just wanna
there's
get the-
probably a negotiated middle path. That, Calvin said certificate of occupancy or completion with conditions. That's a path to take.
Well, this is where I'm thinking we're going. Is we have a bond application. We have a punch list of things that need to be completed.
Yep.
I personally am willing to allow our staff to receive the information, including a letter from the fire department that the turnaround is there and the other things that we talked about earlier in this meeting, which I jotted down quickly. I personally am willing to make the trade. I just don't know how to word it. So
Yeah, so I want that list and I want that letter from fire as
Yeah.
part of the conditions. Those two
Yeah.
things. That would be key for me. You're asking for us as a bit of a leap of faith on our part, frankly, and that's why this is taking so long.
And the history.
That's why we're
I
deliberating.
don't need to repeat what you said, Mr. Chair.
No.
The history
Has not been great.
Not been good.
And there was a lot of time lost in the fall, and I don't know why. That's not my business. But it wasn't pretty driving by there every single day and seeing what was or was not done. And if once this is released, there's just the bond between us.
And honest, I'm not concerned about it getting completed. I'm certain it'll get completed. The question is, will it get completed satisfactory to the approval?
Yes.
So I'm going to ask one
that's what
well,
question.
it is substantially already.
I'm going to ask one question in reading this. Install the tree box filtered bushes. What's the species going to? I thought they were trees in the tree boxes. Are they going to be bushes? Sorry to hit you up on the detail, guys, but
they're small trees.
Yeah, okay.
They're bush, they're bush.
They're bushes, but they're trees. They look like trees.
Mr. Chairman, if I just, one last thing. One is the town is not going to gain anything from stopping this process. It's really not. To be able to provide the switch to turn everything on is the right thing to do versus what is the town going to gain by saying, no, let's continue it. I'm telling you, he's going to get it done,
So
period. He will do it.
I think we're at a point, Mr. Chair.
We're called to vote and we'll take it
Yeah,
from there.
and so I'm gonna think about making a motion, and this is why we have votes.
Do you need help from the attorney with some of the wording? From, if she would be willing to do?
Yeah, I think let me just summarize, if I may. I would move that the Ayer Planning Board consider releasing the certificate of completion covenant and accept the offer of the bond with the items listed on it in the amount of $10,250.
Dated December 13th.
Dated December 13th. And this is the part I'm struggling with. Conditional and contingent upon receipt by the town, by town employees of, I'm going to call it the punch list items, and this is not going to be a complete list right now, but I'm going to need help building it. The letter from fire that the turnaround is okay.
Yeah.
And the slope.
The letter and the slope is okay on the road. My mind's going blank, gentlemen. Help me with this.
And then the punch list.
The punch list, as mentioned by Mr. King.
Right, that
discussed.
follows along
So when you say punch list, I'm
the
thinking
11B.
that's the punch
Yes.
list.
No,
No.
11D.
So you're talking
11D.
conditions.
11B in the original
Conditions, sorry,
conditions,
not punch
yes.
list, the conditions.
We want to remain. So basically, what I'm saying is, I'm moving that 11D prior to the issuance
Be addressed in an
be
act-
addressed in
a-
this motion.
in a request for.
I'm staying very laser focused on
I
that.
like that, okay.
And all the work we've done today and talking about this in the back and forth, I do want an accurate in it. I want you turning the switch on. I want this happening. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been a long battle to get here.
Yeah.
So
So providing
ultimately,
that,
I'm-
you're asking for us to provide, to address all those conditions
yes,
in a formal letter to the planning board,
Correct.
yes,
along
Correct.
with the fire department information, the letter that you.
yes.
Turn around the slope from the fire
Yeah.
department.
So with that said,
And that to begin being given to staff.
with that being
So,
said,
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
with that being said, I'm going to amend my I'm going to change my motion. Throw away the one. I move that the planning board seriously consider releasing.
Well, not seriously considered, it
Yeah,
has to be
please.
released. It's
Sorry,
released.
I'm being
serious.
oil on the water guy at that point. that the planning board release
Covenant.
Ayer Solar 2 of the covenant.
In exchange for.
Covenant 11D in exchange for the items we just discussed.
The bond.
In exchange
And,
to the exchange
the
for
letter and the
But the bond, as articulated in the December 13th, 2022 memo from GPR.
Exactly. And I'll accept $10,250.
I don't want to argue with the money either, I mean, that's acceptable to me. so
I'm
that's
hearing
not the
from the
issue.
proponent that he's going to spend the money to get it fixed no matter what it's going to take. And if it's flowing income, he's going to be happy to do it.
That's right.
Can I second? Can the chair second?
Yes, you can.
All right, I second the motion. Any further discussion?
Does this
That's it, we're going to
does this
vote.
permit the client to turn on the system?
It would,
Yes.
yeah, it
Once
would.
these items are received
That's the point, that's why they're
Once
here.
we provide you with that information.
Yep.
and the bond is received.
Right, pending, exactly. We got
The bond-
the letter, the 11D list.
Yeah.
Yes.
And my assumption is, just looking forward, that the bond will stay, the money will stay with the town until we get the completed plans and we're happy. So
Exactly.
we've got one more bite at the apple.
The
in
usual
spring.
conditions.
I hate to say it
Okay.
like that.
All right,
I have nothing further.
further discussion?
My desire is to review all that on the 27th. I think we will have a quorum, and I would prefer to meet on December 27th and approve. Take this motion up.
All right.
Any other other comments?
I think we have a quorum with 3 of us, right?
Hmm?
All right, I'm gonna move it to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair?
Mr. Moore.
Mr. Moore, please.
Tillotson
Chair votes aye. All the-
Tillotson, yeah, Tillotson votes aye.
Mr. Tillotson votes aye. Chairman votes aye. Any nays?
Yes.
And
Nay.
1 nay. Okay. So we got 2 to 1. So
Excuse
we,
me.
we look forward.
2 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative.
Exactly.
And
And I look forward to hearing from Mark that he's received the documents as described. Please don't make me regret
You won't.
this, John.
You will not.
very much. Please don't.
We will get you that information.
No, you will not regret this, Mr.
All right.
Vance. I won't, we are trying to communicate. We thought we were communicating with individuals. I apologize with Mark. We will over-communicate more and more with everybody.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, and I'm sorry, and attorney, counsel.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mark, did you want to do a town planner update, or can we invite Janet to come up and talk to us?
I would recommend having Janet first.
Yes, let's do that.
I need to stretch.
Would everyone like a 5-minute recess, or no? Should we just keep going? Gentlemen, what do you feel? Let's, Nathan, could you ask Ken to join us?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. All right, drive safely, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're getting you your 8 o'clock meeting.
I am. I'll be hustling, but I'll get home in time for it.
It's
Thank you
all
very
downhill
much.
from here.
Good
to see you today, Cal.
Take care. Welcome, Ken. So Janet, would you like to join us at the table?
If I could. I should have moved, have Janet move to the beginning of the meeting.
Oh,
No,
I don't
please
disagree
don't
with
worry
you,
about it.
but
That's okay.
The
thank you.
reason we didn't is because I had a request from Cal, had a meeting at 8, and I offered to
Yeah.
let him
That's
go
fine.
first so he can attend the meeting.
Yeah.
He is the Northeast United States Director of Ski Patrol. So he's got a Zoom meeting that goes as far south as Virginia, all the way to the Canadian border, and almost to the Mississippi River. So he's pretty, the headwaters of the Mississippi, so he actually made that request this morning.
I'm so sorry, everybody.
Oh, I appreciate you all
I'm
letting
sorry.
me. Go ahead.
Never mind, we're fine.
So,
All right.
What's
No,
up?
Thank you,
Welcome.
thank you. It's like, once being a troublemaker, always being a troublemaker. No, it's good to see you all too. And I just want to reiterate, and I think I said it in the email, Jonathan, with all the work that you guys have been doing. All right, you are right. The town does look at this planning board as being people who are moving forward. Okay, so.
Thank you.
And in that light, the.
Sure, compliment afterwards when you get it, okay, Shannon?
No, the Ayer Affordable Housing Committee, has been wanting to go ahead. I mean, we've been working on the project over at 95 Fitchburg, for the
Yeah.
for the units there. But we've also heard individuals in town saying that we need owner occupied. We need houses, all right? And with that, we still want to try to find a way to start building affordable houses. And if we can't, like right now, when you look at a single family house, they're certain lot sizes. I mean, you guys all know about the zoning, the sizes and such. We'd like to go ahead and possibly see if there's a way to work together to get a smaller lot, smaller houses.
May I say something?
Sure.
Your timing is perfect.
Oh, all right.
Because at the very last, I forget, it was the last meeting or the meeting prior to that, I mentioned to the board that there's some long-term issues that we have to look into,
Mm-hmm.
including, of course, reviewing zoning for this very reason. Do we need smaller homes and smaller lots?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, so are you proposing a kind of working group?
Yeah, working group. Between, like I say, the committee as well as the planning board. Just go ahead.
Anyone else
and-
that you think should be on it?
Probably. I mean, go ahead. I was going to say,
Go ahead.
Council.
Sorry, I'm gonna jump in. I'm sure you may or may not be, you may not, do you know Karen Chapman in MRPC?
Yeah.
Glenn Eaton in MRPC?
No, I just know Karen.
Oh, Glenn's the executive director.
Okay.
In other words, Glenn says jump, Karen says hop high. They came to our MRPC meeting in October, and there is a working group at MRPC right now that's looking at what we sometimes refer to as cottage housing.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Not the big houses, single family, but it's
Mhm.
the approachable single family ownership. We call them tiny houses, call them cottage. It depends on the size.
See, and yeah, and that's
So-
why I'm trying to stay away from saying
So
tiny
I'm-
houses
I'm-
because people think.
I'm interested. I'm interested in doing it. I'm a little confused though. You started talking about the Ayer Commons project. This is not.
No, it's not.
I
What I'm-
want to make sure that this is.
It's
because-
nothing like
it's
that.
nothing
What I'm-
Because in that
Oh.
situation, we'd be looking for a payment in lieu of taxes in order to.
Yeah.
We'd be looking for money to go into the CPC or something like that to build housing, or the affordable house to build housing, but not in that project is what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I
projects
mentioned that
elsewhere.
project because they're rentals.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so
Just wanna be clear on that.
yeah, so people have been saying, all right, it's great. Now we've got all these apartments. How about houses
Yeah.
that people, like I say, could go ahead and own, but be able to afford?
So in my mind, the answer is as simple as yes, of course. And the only thing that remains for me is that, is there any, and I'm asking the town planner, Mark, is there any regulatory obstacle to us forming a working group across with affordable housing and us? Is that okay? Do we need any formal vote or anything like that?
I don't think so, no. No, and I would love to be on that group as well.
Yeah, I want to be on this group.
Yeah, as long as there's not a quorum of any one board, which
So-
would require posting.
So I'm going to say, I'm going to act as a consultant to the group and not physically appear at the meetings. I'm just too
Okay.
busy with whatever.
That's
But,
fine.
okay, Here I am. I got 2 affordable housing committee and 1 affordable housing trust. I'm getting ganged up on it. at this point.
No, that's
But-
fine, that's fine. But I think that in concept, yeah, a working group
Yeah,
collaborating with affordable housing to,
Mhm.
to review zoning and think about.
how we can get it done.
Should include Charlie Schultz, I believe, too.
Mm-hmm,
Can we do that?
yeah.
So
I
it would
was,
be,
I was going to make some nominees if I could.
yeah.
I was going to nominate some people or some groups of people if I could. Of course, Affordable Housing Trust will keep a finger in it of some sort.
Uh-huh, mhm.
I got to imagine, Colleen's busy, but to me, James, Stephen, or Colleen would be.
And they
the first
represent
2
what?
on
The
Affordable
Housing Trust.
Okay, so that's already covered.
Those
Okay,
would be
good.
2 that. I'm just thinking about that. If we take a look at the master plan,
Okay,
For clarification, we're talking about the Affordable Housing Committee and the Planning Board, right? But we're talking about the trust as well?
right, see, and the whole idea behind the trust is the trust has the monies to go ahead and spend. I mean, I'd like to get feedback from them, but to have them be part of the working group, that's what the committee is the working group for the
Got it.
trust.
got it.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm listening.
No, I totally
you know.
get it. It's just so this is an offline conversation because you guys know how I feel about tiny homes and affordable housing and approachable housing. So, of course, I end up in those conversations with people. There's a lot of people who are interested in being in it. But if you're looking at the very narrow definition of what do we need to do to our zoning bylaw, it is only appropriate to be done between the planning board and the committee.
Mm-hmm. Right,
Get
so
it.
that's why I think the working group,
Perfectly fine.
okay, and do it that way.
Thank you
But
for
Charlie,
reining me in.
okay?
Yeah,
All right.
I love this idea, Janet.
All right.
And when we'd like to start in the new year?
Yes.
That's what I would have
Yeah.
proposed too.
All right, because I think this way here we can start getting, I mean, I can start getting some items together and such, just so that we can have a, start with a list, of how to start, attacking it, if you want to call it that way.
Approach.
And so,
Approach
and
it,
you
yeah.
obviously have an email on the Air email list, we can communicate
Oh, yeah.
across the year.
Yeah.
So I definitely would like to be on the working group. I don't know who else on the board would like to do that, but we can get there quickly and figure out who else would like to do it.
Okay. All right.
If you want to ring me up, I can give you the I don't have them in front of me, but the resources the MRPC had.
I'll
from a
reach out to
couple months
Karen.
ago. Reach out to Karen.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
I can do that. All
I
right.
like this idea a
Because
lot.
they're working on it just west of us, not in Devon's, but just west of us.
Oh, really?
Because with the Montechusett area is really seeing a housing crunch.
Okay.
The pressure here is huge. The pressure even farther out
Mm-hmm.
is huge.
Okay. All right, no, I think that would be good, and that's why I wanted to come, again, because I think it would be great to have something. And then, you know, I think some of the wording is, you know, to be able to have it even I can't even throw up the word, incentivize, you know, make it so that we could get builders, you know, nonprofit builders, you know, to come in. And also too, as you know, I've been looking at different types of properties within the town, you know, what might be available, you know, so that we can do some sort of smaller houses on smaller lots. And especially, I was noticing you were talking about ledge, especially with all the ledge that's in town. You know, if you've got a nice area.
Well, we know. we've
But
got
our
lots of-
Habitat for Humanity houses down here
Okay.
are on
So,
ledge.
Just with, yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut
No,
you
no,
short, I just
okay.
said because we got some other agenda
All right,
items. and-
that'd be fine.
So we're good, Janet?
We're good,
We got
and-
it
all right.
affirmative, we're gonna get started, we'll talk about it, and
All
we'll.
right, and
we'll
it'll be
to get-
January.
And we'll coordinate for a meeting in January, and
Right.
we'll figure out the next board meeting, who
Okay.
else wants to participate on the working committee.
Excellent. Well, I think we've got ours on
Beautiful.
the committee.
Thank you, Janet.
I know, thank
for
you
your
very
patience.
much. Whew. I know, we're in trouble.
Happy
Mark,
holidays. fellas.
Mark, would it be okay if we talked about 99 Fitchburg quickly?
Yes.
Okay. So the context for this is that I got an email from Dan Van Skalkwyk saying that one of the conditions of approval for 99 Fitchburg, which is the propane facility, was appropriate striping. And Dan asked me, well, what does the board want from that striping? And I wrote back and said, well, I wanted to discuss at the meeting, and I'll get back to him tomorrow. My understanding was two issues. One, we wanted to be sure that fire and police were comfortable with whatever the striping is. And number two is, we wanted to minimize traffic going toward the residential area. We had promised just as good practice, but also
The
satisfy
truck
our
traffic
concerns.
that wasn't delivering on that road needed to go out the other way.
Yes. So.
That is what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So I need to, what I'm asking the board is I need to communicate to Dan tomorrow what it is the board wants so that he can move forward. And is there anything more to add than what I just said? Is there, what do I say to him? Is it beyond the reduction of traffic at residential? Do I need to bring up the signage issue that is there anything else about the striping that you want me to touch on with Dan?
Yes.
Please, thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, I have the printout here of the findings and the decision, because that's the only place to really
Yeah.
check it out. And the important note here is that the special conditions include the language that he's talking about.
Yes, it does.
But you've failed to clarify the fact that this is the language. Prior to any building permits being issued, the applicant shall coordinate striping of the extension of Fitchburg Road serving the site to clarify traffic lanes and assist traffic flow entering and exiting the site with the air, fire, and police department as well as the air DPW.
That's correct.
So the key element here is the guy can't get a building permit without.
That's right.
You didn't say that, though, did you?
No, I failed. I left it out because but that's the key thing. That's why it's so
So-
urgent that I reach him tomorrow. And right.
So it seems to me that we're gonna have to do some kind of a waiver here for the winter conditions, because I don't believe it's appropriate to be striping right now with salt on the road and whatnot.
If you read that again, I don't think it says stripe the road. I think it says work with.
Serving the site to clarify.
Yeah.
That's it.
I
Yeah,
think it basically says that. I think we thought that through. I think that was thought through when the project was being brought to
Yeah, we
us.
did talk about it.
Yeah. So my memory is, they need to have a plan
Exactly.
of striping the road and striping the entranceway coming in off
Correct.
of 2A. So that is 2A up there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, off of 2A, so that the truck traffic that's visiting the other properties and this property, they basically know where they are. That road is a unlit road, difficult. There's no fog lines on it. There's nothing.
Right.
Now we put into the plan left turn, right turn signs leaving the property. We've put into the plan requirements that the trucks cannot go unless making a delivery on Groton Shirley Road. They can't go down Groton Shirley Road.
Right.
We tried to write in that buses can't go there either, but we didn't get that far. So I think, and Mr. Diskey, you may or may not agree with me, I think the intent was that the proponent needs to work with fire and public safety, basically, fire and police.
And I may be overstating it, but I think the idea is that there's a plan for striping. Doesn't mean that we stripe now.
Right, so we're gonna, you basically have to request that the applicant provide that plan to DPW right now.
Yeah.
So that he then can say, we have the plan in front of us, that's good enough,
Right.
we'll do it when it's season.
He just wanted to know, is there anything more specific than that we want to require to be in that plan that he needs to know about? That's what he's asking.
I don't recall that I personally, speaking for myself, I think we want to let the public safety personnel
Yeah.
make those. This would be like when a preliminary plan comes to the town, 11 copies because it goes out to all the departments in town.
Yep.
And they say no comment, I have no comment now, or
That's
whatever.
fine. Exactly.
Acceptable to me.
That's
yeah.
what I want to do. So I could just write that down, planning board, we just want the striping plan as per the conditions, but really we would defer to safety.
And we recognize you can't. Yeah, I agree with you, Mr. Diskin. You can't put paint. You shouldn't be putting paint down right now.
Okay.
Harvard did, by the way. Did you notice that?
So that's,
Oh, yeah.
okay, good. So that's the answer then, right? Nathan, you're cool with that?
Yeah, I agree, because all the truck directions, all in the site, is in the approved plan.
Set down view, yeah.
And that's going to be done by the applicant, part of the project.
Right.
All the signage. All we're talking
Signage.
about is striping. I don't know that striping is going to really change truck flow, but it's just, it will, it's a, what is it, a 5-way intersection.
There was a discussion on. Excuse me. There was a discussion on the sidewalk that unless you grew up here, you don't know how to get to that intersection.
Right.
Yes.
So this is, to be clear, the applicant is going to give a drawing. Is the applicant going to give a drawing to the DPW of what the striping is going to be? Okay.
Yeah,
That's what I
That's exactly what it is.
With the DPW's
Yeah.
input, which
In a
will
copy to us.
Yeah.
leverage
When the copy to us. That's
the
right.
police.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's a very complicated request. I just wanted to check in with you before I gave a final decision, recommendation to Dan. Hey, Mark, how about we go over the RFP?
Sure.
Okay. So Mark sent out a revised RFP that I hope all of you have had a chance to review. I had a few minor comments to Mark earlier that are really trivial. They were just about language typo kind of thing. But materially, my understanding is that in the general scope of the assignment on page 1, and then the general task on page 3, that Mark has done a good job of incorporating in this revised RFP the comments that we gave him at the last meeting. And so I wanted to check in with you. What do you guys feel? Is it good to go? Can you go ahead, share it with the applicant, and then actually get the RFP out there?
Yeah, just for your orientation, for ease of reading, at the last meeting on November 22nd, you indicated several items to delete. So
Right.
you can see the cross through. I also highlighted most of those. I took away the punctuation from the bulleted list of general scope. Wanted to clarify about the offsite improvements. So yeah, basically fairly minor things. The other big issue at the last meeting was to take away any reference to looking at the traffic study.
Right.
So that was taken out on page 3.
Yep.
Yeah, so in my opinion, it's fairly good to go if the planning board is agreeable.
I'm good.
I'm good. I wanted to have a quick discussion about offsite improvements just to see where other folks, where an idea I had the other evening at a capital planning meeting falls in the scope, and maybe get the board thinking about offsite improvements that might be a little bit larger than the road it comes in on and stuff like that. We're in the process now.
But wait a minute, you want to hold out until we
Yeah,
finish
I
the
was going to say,
comments
can
on
we?
this?
Yeah, let's keep focused on the RFP part, and then we can have the conversation
Okay, fine.
about. Okay. So did you have anything germane to the RFP, or can?
I just wanted to know. Yeah, no, this is perfect. The answer is it's perfectly fine. Yeah.
Okay. Ken?
I got a few things, not the least of which is on page 2. I think that I circled the fact that in the paragraph under the description, Mark, you said there's a 200-acre tract of land. I believe it's 152 or 151 acres. If you do the math of 132 plus 20 plus your reports have all indicated that the project size is 151 acres.
Mr.
Yeah, I'll recheck that. Also, Jonathan mentioned, and I will correct this, the project description, that is 37 units on 35 lots.
Right, now 35 single-family house lots, right?
2 duplexes.
Okay, so
But yeah, I'll
you
check
got that all
the
right?
track size again.
Okay. Same thing down below, application status, it says calendar year 2022, it should be 2023 when they, planning board.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's
Correct.
important. Oh, my God, I missed that too, Jesus.
Then I just have a question for the board, and that's, you're moving that along, Jeff, is that it?
Yeah, where are you now?
See where it's got, just before qualifications for the firm, where it's right in there. C, item C. Be available to play the central project management role of this assignment. I don't know how that has anything to do with what we're talking about. Unless we can define project management. Minimum requirements for the engineering project manager.
Yeah, I don't see
We're not
us-
talking about a project manager.
I don't see us hiring a project manager.
Yeah, that should be struck, right, Mark?
Yeah, I can strike that.
I
That was some generic language.
Yeah, let's take that.
I don't.
Take
Yeah.
it out.
I'll strike out 1C.
Yeah, Mark, I'm not
Well,
going
wait
to.
a minute, should we,
Excuse me, just for 1 second. Oh. Mark, do you want me to keep a copy of what we're doing here and send it to you?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay, it's just difficult because, there we go, I've got track changes on now. Okay, great,
Yep.
thanks.
okay, did we understand that we were gonna change the item number 1 there, which says minimum requirements for the engineering project manager? That's what I'm getting at. We only took out item C.
Right. We took out C.
Well, I guess, the misunderstanding. Are we hiring an engineering project manager?
Well, that would be, well, a project manager would typically, when a firm replies to this, there's a small team involved. So the project manager is the lead, or
So,
the
I think I
firm's
could resolve this confusion.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
not managing the project, it's managing the review. The project manager, the project in this sense would not be the development, the project is the review.
Right.
And the manager of that review.
Managing, right, managing the engineering review, not engineering the subdivision per
Exactly.
se.
And
Right.
I got lost on that, Mr. Diskin, where were you, was that
Well,
the
just
same
go-
thing?
We're gonna let it go.
That was
Just
over
take
here.
C out.
Got it.
So we
Well,
just
maybe
take
it should be
Got it.
engineering review project manager. or
Yes, why don't we
something.
just add the word review to just, do you see where
Yeah.
we're going, Jeff? So it's, so that the line one says minimum requirements for engineering review project manager.
Minimum requirements for engineering review.
Add the word review, yeah.
Yep,
What else you got, Ken?
On the next page on 3,
yep.
item E, I'm not so sure we need, it says general lot, these are the things that the consultant is going to evaluate. It says general lot layout and design, as well as vegetation clearance, extreme driveway grades, and other considerations. That's, are we gonna
Well-
ask them to look at the shape of the lots? And when you say
Well-
vegetation clearance, are you talking about how much is gonna be cleared off each lot, or?
Well, only insofar as that it might affect other engineering considerations. I mean, if there's some reason that combining 2 lots or having a different layout of where the lot line goes facilitates rain gardens or facilitates LID stormwater management, there could be situations where a little bit of an adjustment to the lot lines might solve an engineering consideration. That's what I was thinking of there.
I get a feeling most of the lots are done on the preliminary plan,
Yeah,
That's-
then it's not gonna change.
Yeah, I would agree. It's very unlikely that the lot layouts will change, but I just wanted to have
We don't
some
control
stake
the
that,
subdivision.
I-
Under subdivision rules and regulations, I don't believe we control what goes on the lot. It's basically the road and drainage.
I think, but,
Right, but they're looking at general engineering considerations that affect the whole thing, and yeah, we could. I might want to keep in part of that, but we could take out general lot layout and design.
Why don't we just leave in
Right.
general lot layout and design? And take out as well as vegetation clearance, extreme grades, and other considerations. So he takes a look at it.
I'm saying, it's
Right.
almost like general lot layout and design conforming to current building practices. I don't know. We're going to assume the engineering team looking at this knows what they're doing.
Mhm.
We're gonna assume the engineer that submits the drawings know what they're doing.
Yeah, I know, but
And that
but-
this guy's gonna review that.
Yeah, exactly.
But-
So
Yeah.
Okay.
So what's the consensus? We're gonna just stop at general layout and lot layout and design period, or
According to accepted planning and engineering practices.
according to accepted
I
planning?
think the whole document is
Yeah.
got
No,
that. The
I
whole
don't think
document
that's
includes
necessary.
that.
I think
You
it's
don't need
general
the
lot
language.
layout and design period.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
Okay, good.
We're gonna assume that the whole project is gonna use engineering design, best
Would
engineering
hope so.
practices.
Yeah. Yep, that's fine.
Okay, then the last one, item G, you've got that down there. Assessment of potential low-intensity off-site improvements to Wright Road and the nearby road network that would improve traffic flow and safety for both. Just should take the word both out.
Just take both out.
Oh, yeah, right. For automobiles, bicycles, and pedestrians,
This is
yep.
what you want to talk about when we get back
Yeah,
to
no,
it.
I want to talk about something totally unrelated to this, but I like it's just for all modes of transportation. We keep going, yeah.
Then the next one is I. It says any other aspects of the plan drawings that might need to be addressed from a civil engineering perspective. I don't know, that's pretty broad-based, I guess. So we're gonna ask him under G, under I, it's a separate issue.
Right.
That's just a throw it all in there type statement, I guess, I.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just the coverage in case the engineer sees something that we haven't even thought of, right? I mean,
I
that's
know,
just, it's just is that what that is intended to do? Just as an overall cover for anything that might occur to this
Yes.
reviewer?
Yeah, not being an engineer, I'm afraid I could miss something, and,
Right.
you know,
Okay.
right.
Yeah, so
That's why I had it
is
there.
it okay to leave it there?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Just want to make sure you guys commented just with the way you did. Okay,
Yep.
on the next page, now we're talking about,
Excuse me, if I may. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, just before we jump past number 4. Review a wastewater system design report prepared by the applicant. The wastewater system design report requirements include but are not limited to. We want to make sure that they're using the current guidelines for wastewater, for sewer. Okay.
Mhm.
You're on the, I'm not far enough along.
no, yeah, right
So,
there.
Because, you know, we want to, basically, a house, well, go ahead, keep going.
Go ahead, keep
Let's
going.
get through the whole thing, yeah.
Okay, so the thing that's important here is that we're asking them, in this item 4, where you were, Jeff,
Yeah.
to review the system that's been submitted by the applicant.
Mm-hmm.
So as we go through that, gets into like item E. I mean, all this stuff we're going to see from the applicant, and we're going to. The one part that I'd like to add here is make sure that we have language, and I brought this up before, that anything we do in the next two things, 4 and 5, are in accordance with our DPW requirements and rules and regulations.
Yes.
That's not in here anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
So that has to be put in there somewhere, wherever it belongs. And then
So
item
it's
E says, design plans need to indicate locations of pressure sewer connections, including pipe sizes. That may or may not be applicable, so again, it should be, you know, if applicable, we may not have any pressure systems. So
Is this,
I would say basically, design plans need to indicate locations of all gravity and pressure sewer connections.
Yep, yeah, that's fine, yeah. Hopefully somebody is typing that down.
Yeah.
And did
Yep,
anyone type
right.
in the language about in accordance with DPW?
Yes.
Okay, did you put that in?
not yet.
No, but Mark can put it in.
Mark, you'll put that one in?
Well, I can put in accordance with
Hold on.
DPW requirements and
Please.
regulations. The last thing that Ken mentioned, I didn't catch all that, about whether it's under pressure or not.
Yes, I'll read it to you.
That's, I've added should be in accordance with Ayer DPW standards.
Yeah, okay.
And where are you putting it? Right over? Oh, good, thank you.
I'm adding,
Yep,
yeah,
yep,
you'll
yep,
see
got
it,
it. You're
Mark.
good, you're good.
My markup's purple mark for some reason.
Yep.
And then the last thing I have is the same requirement for number 5, DPW being put in there, number
Yep.
5.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah,
I will
somewhere.
add, copy and paste it. For, review my water system design report, further, so the water system design report requirements should be in accordance with the ADP standards.
And include,
Yep.
but not limited to. Yeah.
So for D&E, for D&E, I'm not asking them to develop this, the
Oh, there it
engineer's
is down there, yeah.
the engineer is going to review these things, right? They're not developing a plan.
We
They're
already had it
designing-
in, this one already had it in D. It already had the DPW spec.
Yep.
The other one didn't. So,
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I see that. Yeah.
water system design report.
I just take
So
5D.
We're
and,
basically asking this gentleman to look at the report that's gonna be given to us.
Yeah, yeah, so what D
Right.
says is develop
Right, that's not.
develop a proposed off-site sewer collection plan. That's not what their responsibility is. The responsibility is to review the off-site sewer collection plan.
Yes.
And their responsibility in E is to review
Review the proposed.
the plans, review plans.
Right.
right?
So would the language, Nathan, be, so take scratch, develop A and replace it with review the?
He's got it, Jeff's got it.
Oh, he already did it?
Yeah. And then E as well. They're not designing
Wait a minute, hold on a minute.
sewer connections.
I think there's a little bit of confusion. Go back to number 4, would you? See, the very first
Yes,
part
the
of
first word is review.
is review.
But then it says, sorry, Jeff, can you go back right up? He says, the tasks, the wastewater system design report requirements, even in the report, I don't want them to create a design.
No, they're not creating,
I know.
no, excuse me. The misunderstanding is that report that he's gonna review in the number 4 is including stuff that the engineer is gonna design. So he's reviewing their design.
But really, and if you think about the process, the engineer's talking to DPW in order to design it
Yeah.
based on what they want.
Yeah.
And by the way, the engineer's already been there doing this.
This is just our expert to
Yep.
give us advice
Hmm?
on whether or not
Right.
I get it.
Whether they're not designing it, they're just
That's
reviewing
right.
what the other guy's design is,
Right.
basically.
I
That's
mean,
all
it's a much more expensive project if they're designing it.
No, they're not, yeah, right. They'd have
Alright.
2 designs, like everything else. would.
So what'd you do on E? Oh, no. So do we need?
So, yeah, I haven't changed it to be developed, to review the, it's,
So it needs to be like review plans to ensure they indicate locations, etc.
yeah.
Thank you.
When we get finished with this, Mark, obviously gonna copy all of us
Oh, yes, yes.
and save
In
it.
fact, yeah, I'd like to run it by Dan Van Schalkwyk as well.
Yeah.
Yes, please do. All right. Anything else on this, or can we wrap this one up?
It's good.
Ken's good. Nathan?
Yeah.
Jeff?
Yeah, fine.
So, Mark, are you going to waive the town planner update, or are you just going to give her something very brief tonight?
Yeah, very brief. Yeah, I'll take care of the various things that, I will be correcting here. Also, while last week I was contacted by Nasoya.
Uh-huh.
Nasoya Tofu, they'll be coming in with their additions starting on Tuesday, December 27th. So there are 3 components. There's a site plan for the tower and the addition itself. There's a stormwater management plan for a major project, and there's a special permit due to the fact that it's all in the Aquifer Overlay District. So my public hearing notice covers all those. And I'll be in next week, part-time to start, but I'll have access to the plans, which I don't hear. So I'll be, preparing a staff report, as I usually do, to go out at the end of the week before that.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Regarding the meeting minutes, Heather just sent me the ones for the 11th. I haven't even reviewed them yet. I will look at and send them back to you guys as usual. But we do have the meeting minutes for October 25th and November 22nd. Are we ready to vote? Did you guys have a chance to review the suggested edits, and can we vote on those tonight?
Yes.
Can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes for October 25th, 2022?
So
So,
moved.
seconded, I'm sorry.
Seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye, it's unanimous. Do I have a motion for the approval of the November 22nd, 2022 meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, it's unanimous. Any old business, new business to discuss?
I have a couple things to talk about under MRPC and some other items that are general items to ask us to think about. So they would be not necessarily, I'm going to do an MRPC report if I can.
Yep.
So I don't know if Mr. Diskin has anything under old or new.
Not right now.
So, couple things, and so MRPC, the last meeting of MRPC, I sent around everybody the invitation to the upcoming meetings.
Yep.
Okay, and they're holding another one. I think it got held. The
You talking about MRPC or the CPTC?
MRPC.
Okay.
Transit housing, transit zoning. Why can't I think of what this is?
You got too much going on, that's why.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so I've sent out people invitations to go there. They have workshops and stuff coming up, and I'm going to continue to send those workshops as I get that stuff.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's working pretty well. It came up in. I was at the planning, capital planning. I'm sitting there, and we're discussing the need to do things here in town. And one of the things we don't do, or we haven't done, or we haven't considered, or whatever the reason is, looking to proponents who come to this town to do things like developments and maybe hit them up for some bucks for something else. A perfect piece to this, I saw a perfect add into this, in the current project over on Stratton Hill. We're looking at possibility of having to rebuild Sandy Beach House, and make it ADA compliant. Does the planning board consider it within their purview to approach a proponent and say, we'd like some money donated towards the, I want you to think about it, because a direct impact upon the Sandy Pond Beach House will be the additional 40 units, 39 units up there.
I think the impact will be very minimal of the 40
Yeah,
houses.
I
But
think
I think
it feels
you're
a
on the
little
right track.
But pilot, payments in lieu of taxes
Yeah,
or
but
things
they-
like that, yeah.
Towns do that all the time.
Exactly.
And I think we pretty much intend to do that for improvements along Wright Road or improvements to the town sewer system or whatever has to be done, but it has I think it would have a more direct
to be
connection
germane.
to the project. We can't, our reach is only so far.
Right. A playground on the project.
Yeah.
The other thing that we are entitled to do is, in just defense, is that
Thank you, but
because we have the ability in our regulations or thought process to ask for recreation facilities on a project,
Mhm.
and I brought that up, people didn't like the idea, like a playground within the project, which we may get to. Maybe because we don't get a playground within the project, they improve the playground that we already have somewhere else. It's a possibility. I'd prefer to have one right out there where the project is, somewhere.
Yeah, my general feeling, oh, I'm sorry, you done?
Yeah, thanks.
You know, is that I'd like to keep those offsite improvements as closely tied to the project and germane to the project as possible. And I want to avoid anything that feels even remotely extortionate. You know, I don't want to go that direction as a board.
So, I'm not going to argue the point, but we continue to need, there's a continued need for affordable housing. Yes, there is 11% of this project will be affordable housing. It'll be affordable housing at probably 80% of the median income of the area, which is still affordable housing.
Right.
But as we look at projects going forward, I would hope that we would be willing to allow them, the proponent, to make contributions towards affordable housing not necessarily on their project. Again, stuff we've talked about.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what Janet. is
Exactly.
Those are some of the
Yes.
thoughts
Yeah.
we're gonna have, is
Yeah.
we're gonna
It-
expand the
This just, yeah,
affordable housing and inclusionary zoning
exactly.
and bonuses and stuff. So it goes beyond multifamily,
Mhm.
it gets into single family. That's one of the deficiencies of our zoning. We only have the affordable housing requirement
know.
and inclusionary zoning
Right.
under multi.
Mhm.
We need more multi, we need more.
And as Janet said, we may need to revise what our standards are for lots and single families.
Yes, well, yeah.
Yep. So, good. Anything else on old business, new business? Please, sir.
Quickly, we had the gentleman for talking about pocket forests here,
Yes.
and brought up the question of who's the authority. I'm not too concerned about private land. It's a pocket forest and private land. I assume the owner of the land is responsible and authorizes it. And when it comes to if pocket forests are considered for public, for town land, then that question of who's the authority to grant that, I think is still out there.
Yeah, okay. That's legitimate. Mark, how would we address that question?
Board of Selectmen.
Boy, off the top of my head, I think the select board is the ultimate authority when it comes to town property.
Okay.
Though they may wish to delegate certain aspects of that to the Conservation Commission and Planning Board or DPW, depending on which site is chosen.
So, yeah, and I.
But to me, it's pretty clear that the select board is the lead, though it might not be a bad idea to have a meeting to that effect, so everybody's on the same page.
If I may, it depends on who owns the property. That's an important piece to it. And even though the select board might be the proponent for it, any change of ownership or use of a land has to go to town meeting.
Okay.
Period.
Yeah.
It's interesting to figure out how the pocket forest is going to work out that way.
Yeah, it sure
But
will.
if it's going to change hands or something like that, and I actually attended the Pocket Forest Walk on last Saturday over at Devon's.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it was fun to be there. Alan was there. He gave me a kiss on the cheek in public.
Wow.
Yeah, I said something nice about him in a different town, but but it's an interesting. It's an interesting thing. It was nice. There was about 25, 30 people there,
Great.
and I look forward to this Saturdays also.
Curiosity then, will a site plan come to the board for pocket forest?
I don't know, because there's so many different things. Over at Devon's, they were specifically looking at land that is under the control of Devon's DPW.
I don't know.
I'm not really
So
concerned
if-
about Devon's land.
But let me finish, please, Nathan.
Okay.
If the land is under the purview of the school department,
Yes.
it's the school department. If it's the land's under the purview of the Department of Public Works, it's the Department of Public Works.
But regardless, the school will still bring us. They're improving their fields. They're going to bring us a site plan.
His question is related to the fact that the planning board typically controls site plan approval, site plan review.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
And if they
I was thinking of
buildings-
ownership.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
It's a good question.
Good.
We don't know.
Okay.
I think that the
But if
issue will
it has to do
become,
with drainage and it has to do with planting
It's
and it
gonna
has to
end
do
up-
with,
yeah.
all
it'll
those
be
things.
here.
Mhm.
Okay, good.
Could be an interesting thing.
All right.
Landscaping.
Yep.
We good here, folks? Motion to adjourn?
I lost the file we were working on.
No.
It's here somewhere. I
All
can
right.
find it.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your patience and your contributions and your hard work. Thank you.